there is nothing else that you are hearing here today other than that COS coordinate official meetings of the government.
We are hearing it for the first time, and you are already making us to know that the COS should take any decision when you are not there without any consultation to anybody, and we are accepting it now.
That is wrong. Again, you are misinterpreting me, or that's completely wrong. I did not say that.
Okay, put it correctly for me, please. Sorry.
What I said is that if we are in a public function, the COS coordinate the event. It is not that COS can give decisions in my absence. I didn't say that.
Good evening, my listeners, depending on your time zone. Yes, we have listened to this video clip, of course, where the PM made an emphatic statement, clear the air about the functionalities and the boundaries, of course, of the Chief of Staff. He made it very clear that in official functions that the CSO coordinates, but there are limitations to those defined functions or specification or areas of duty, that when the Minister of Information raised concern that perhaps the COS could take arbitrary decisions without consultations of other stakeholders or the cabinet members, he raised such objection. He said no, that it is only on official functions he can coordinate, not taking decisions, critical decisions, in the absence of the Prime Minister. Do we get that clearly? So under no circumstances was the COS allowed under the law to take decisions except he was instructed by the Prime Minister. He said even in my absence, he was not allowed to take decisions. The journey to freedom is a long journey. It's a long process. Sometimes you might have disagreements. It is natural. It is not alien, of course, to issues of such. We are bound to disagree. Sometimes, in order to agree, there could be some misunderstanding or miscontrol between the cabinet members. I so much enjoy the Prime Minister's conversations with other cabinets, and it was very lively and interactive. You can see how the Bible says how lovely are the brethren to live together in harmony. So I saw the level of harmony visible, operational, between the Prime Minister of the Biafran Republic government in Israel and other cabinets. Despite, of course, the perceived rancor of misunderstanding, it was meant to be resolved and to forge ahead. Why do I raise these concerns? Is to set the record very straight and to enlighten Biafrans. See, I am not here to disparage anybody's personality, worth, or value. Unlike most other YouTubers who seize every slightest opportunity to disparage the efforts, the commitment, and the enormous time and resources most of these cabinet members has invested in service to the Biafrans as an analyst of great repute and who has respect to human dignity and persons. I do not castigate or insult the personalities of my listeners. I said it very straight and without any fear or favor. Now, let's go on with this analysis. Simon Ekpa, prior to his summon for interrogation, he made this position very clear. And thank God, whosoever may have leaked this video clip did that, of course, for good, regardless whatever may be his intention for releasing or the video at this time. It will serve a very good purpose for all Biafrans who are liberal, open-minded, and are willing to hear the truth. Unfortunately, the Biafrans do not want to hear the truth. They don't want to set the record straight. They are only drifting towards people with deceptive propaganda, calling people's name. I wonder what kind of mindset or mentality is that? What exactly are such persons trying to project? One, I can never in any time disparage the efforts of any member of the cabinet. At one time or the other, they have made several commitments, sacrifices that is commendable. Of course, nobody is perfect. We as humans has our own areas of weakness, but that is not to say that you begin to rain abuses on people who are serving the Biafrans or who are serving the people or the public. One thing is important, of course, I am not owing any responsibility to whatever wrong they may have done, but I am telling you that you cannot disparage, you cannot reduce the worth, the effort of these people at one point or the other. And the Prime Minister said it very correct. The Prime Minister is someone who has the character, the charisma to coordinate, to carry people along. You see, when you are a leader, is not just somebody who lords it over, who gives an ultimatum and who intimidates his fellow officers, officials, or cabinet members. See the level of interaction. See the engagement, the mental, intellectual engagement with other cabinets flowing together. There could be some areas of that is not very clear. He takes the time to put the record straight. Even when attention was called, he said, "You misunderstood me. I never meant this way, that the COS can take decisions, arbitrary decisions, without consulting anybody. You can't ignore the coordinates or the cabinet members. There are key coordinate positions in any society, and no decisions can be taken in the absence of these key factors or key personalities or positions." Now, the CRS, which is the Conflict Resolution Committee, should not also be dissolved by one person. So why I'm raising this concern, some persons might be considering that as irrelevant or it does not matter. But what does not matter to you eventually will matter in the course of time. If we fail to put the record straight, if we fail to iron out issues, and of course, we might end up apportioning blames, but that is not what my focus is. Building a collective front, forging a collective front that will propel towards the realization of that set objectives or goal. Before the Prime Minister set out for this cause, there is an end point, what you call end point, of course, results of any undertaking or process. The end point is the restoration, full liberation of the Biafran state. Some people are arguing that we are no longer in the Biafran Republic government in exile. Where are you? Yes, I believe, of course, the Biafrans believe in the United States of Biafra, which has a de facto government, and the government in exile. Why? Because the full liberation or restoration has not been entrenched. Of course, that government is said to be in exile, pending on when every machinery may have been put in place to restore fully the existence of the government in the de facto land, homeland, and where the people can now control fully their security and make decisions, enact constitutions that will be in the collective interest of all and sundry. What am I saying here? Moses Simon Ekpa raised concern that every cabinet member or ministry must work together, build a synergy towards realizing the main goal set. Now, you cannot work in isolation at all. The COS can't work in isolation. You can't ignore other member cabinets taking arbitrary decisions. Now, where do you arrive at that decision? What empowers you to take decisions based on your discussion or initiative? The Prime Minister said you don't even have the right, you are not permitted to take decisions even in his absence. By implication, whatever decision you have taken is in total violation and disrespect of the office of the Prime Minister in the first instance. What does that imply? That whatever decision you have taken, and the Prime Minister made it very clear that you have no right or authority to take permission outside whatever instruction he gives, even in his absence, which means a violation of that order is a disrespect and a coup against the Prime Minister. This is my personal opinion, and based on the context of our discussion today, you can go back and listen to that submission of the Prime Minister. Even when the Minister of Information called his attention, okay, you have made us to know that the COS, Chief of Staff, to the Prime Minister can take decisions even without consulting other cabinet members or ministers in charge of other strategic portfolios or positions. He said, no, it is not what I meant. You got me wrong. What does that mean? That the Chief of Staff is limited. Its primary function, as I've once said, is to coordinate based on approval of the Prime Minister. It only operates within the powers confined on her by the Prime Minister. Should the Prime Minister say, okay, go to such extent, do this and do that, she has the backing of the Prime Minister to embark on such, because power has been delegated to him or her by the office of the Prime Minister. Now, in the absence of such, the Prime Minister said she has no powers under any law to take decisions without due consultations. Who then do you have to consult? If you have taken decisions, who do you consult? Who empowers you? Under what law are you operating? You can't jettison order, of course, structures put in place by the Prime Minister and thinking you are doing what is right. The Prime Minister already have made it very clear. If he has not made this statement and if this video has not leaked, well, I would give some benefit of doubt to the office of the COS, believing or presuming that perhaps she might be acting in the capacity or based on the instructions or powers delegated to her by the office of the Prime Minister. But if the Prime Minister has come to say, no, in my absence, she has no right to take decisions. If actually she must take decisions, it must be a collective bargain and position approved by the cabinet members, including the conflict resolution minister. All statutory heads or stakeholders must unanimously come to a resolution. That is on the basis where perhaps they could delegate power to the chief of staff to carry out some certain statutory functions. But in the absence of that, the COS has no power to confide on herself the deputy prime minister without the inputs or approval of the cabinet members and the conflict resolution committee. If there are issues of discrepancy, the conflict resolution committee will weigh in. But you can't dissolve other cabinet members, dissolve the conflict resolution committee, and impose the leadership of the movement to yourself. Declaring this dissolution of the cabinet members, perhaps because of some misunderstanding, which should have been managed. Now, that does not mean that I will seize the opportunity to disparage the effort of the chief of staff. She has committed her time, her efforts, her resources, of course, taking her life to serve the Biafrans. She is not a saint. She may have her own weaknesses, unfortunately, which has been exploited, unmanaged, to the point that we are experiencing such level of escalation. I am trying to build up what is very important for us to note here. So you cannot understand where the problem started. There are hit-ups, there are build-ups of arguments, misconceptions, power tussles, and woman has the tendency of protecting their egos. Do you know who I am? Do you know who I am? I will not succumb. I will not subscribe to this and that. But forgetting that that could damage whatever efforts that have been collectively achieved at that particular time. With the recent developments and going forward, we cannot understand the true position. My argument and submission is this, based on the position of the Prime Minister, that the COS has no right under any law to take arbitrary decisions without the approval of the Prime Minister. For every rule, there is an exception. The only time decisions can be taken, just as under the circumstances, that the unavoidable absence of the Prime Minister, there are other cabinet members which are part of the decision-making body. You cannot just take decisions in isolation, ignoring or jettisoning them, giving them name that they have become saboteurs. Who hears that? And unfortunately, some gullible who could not think beyond their nose accepted that. Everybody becomes a criminal. Everybody becomes sabotage. And you are the only saint left. There are no other prophets standing. Just like Elisha said to God that I'm the only prophet left. Who told you? God confronted him, disabused his mind. There are the 7,000 prophets that have not bowed down to Baal, but he's claiming he's the only prophet. It means there is something fundamentally wrong, either with your state of mind or your inability to carry others along. A leader must be someone who has the quality to coordinate, who has the quality to galvanize everyone's input, effort, gearing towards a set objective, achievement, or realization of certain set goals and objectives. If you think you can just take a walk and to the extent that you want to disengage other members and trying to form new, entirely new people for yourself who you believe could be loyal to you. No, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. You must express some level of loyalty to the Prime Minister who have dedicated certain responsibilities to you and work in synergy with other members of decision-making bodies in order to achieve the set goal. When the house is divided, it is to the advantage of the enemies, who are, of course, doing all they could to infiltrate and to scatter your plans. They are consulting affairs, consulting native doctors, consulting whatever they could consult, their oracles and the altars of Baal, in order to destroy or destabilize you, and you are walking towards their own net. It is quite unfortunate. That is my own personal analysis, and it is not loading it to anybody, but we must get to discover where the problem started. There is a miss out somewhere. Well, let's get to know what is your own perspective regarding this development.